Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Mitch Weiser and Bonnie Bickwit, who went hitchhiking to attend a concert at Watkins Glen called Summer Jam, which was a massive concert featuring, among others, the Allman Brothers, the Grateful Dead, and the band. Now, Mitch was a huge Grateful Dead fan, even naming his dog after one of their songs. Initially, he was going to go to the concert with his friend Larry, but Larry's mother wouldn't let him go. So instead of taking Larry, he asked his one-year girlfriend Bonnie Bickwit, who wanted to go for sure. Both of them had jobs. Mitch had an internship at a photo studio on Coney Island, and they were okay with him going to the concert, so they gave him some time off. But Bonnie's work, she was a parent's helper at Camp Wilmette for the summer, and they did not approve of her time off, so she quit on the spot and then told them that she would be back after the concert to pick up her personal belongings and paycheck. Now, Bonnie's parents at the time were actually on holiday at Cape Cod, so they never actually saw her leave, and she did not ask for permission. Mitch's parents were not super happy. His mother and sister in particular kept trying to talk him out of it. Even after he had already gone over to Camp Wilmette, he took a bus initially and then took a cab. He called home to let his mother and sister know that he was there, and he told them that he was pretty much flat broke at that point, and even then they were like, just come home. But he was adamant that he was going to go, and he told them that he would see them on Sunday. So Mitch and Bonnie went from there, and they hitched a ride with somebody in a pickup truck who drove them to Narrowsburg. And from there, they headed to Highway 97, holding up a cardboard sign that Bonnie had made the night before. Now, the truck driver is also the last person to have seen them alive, like confirmed to have seen them alive. After that, nobody knows where they went. Now, initially, the parents, when they realized that the kids weren't coming home, decided to call the police, but the police were like, well, they're kids, they're probably out traveling, they're young, who knows, they'll probably come back, because apparently that happened a lot. Sister Susan and Father Sidney of Mitch's drove around to Watkins Glen to look for the missing teenagers while Mother Shirley waited by the phone, to no avail. A missing persons report was made after the parents of Bonnie came back from vacationing in Cape Cod. Now, Bonnie had written a letter to her parents in which she, among other things, said that she hoped that once the parents came back that she would have the same type of freedom as she had now that they were out vacationing, and she hoped to travel. So they kind of held out hope that maybe they were actually out there traveling, just having fun. But then the start of the new school year rolled around, and neither teens were back, and the parents began to fear the worst. 6 weeks after Mitch and Bonnie's disappearance, the police were still skeptical and believed that the two had run away, and they pushed their parents to launch their own investigations and act as their own public relations managers to publicize the case, so the police was not helping too much at that point. And it wasn't until a 1973 letter from Wall Street Journal national news editor to the NYPD Commissioner Donald Cawley stated valuable time was lost that the officers of the department claimed an investigation had been started and will be conducted by a superior officer of their department. Minimal effort was also employed to try and find the two teens. There were no milk cartons with their photographs made, no Amber Alert system was used, no federal mandate requiring law enforcement to open an investigation or national resources to get services, so there was basically nothing for a very long time. The only thing that happened of note after that is that a certain psychic called Maurice got involved for a while, and he said that they had been picked up by some type of Vietnam veteran, and that the Vietnam veteran had taken out Mitch somewhere on a mountainside or a hill, and then he took out Bonnie several days later. He gave the names Wade, Wayne, or Willie, and claimed he was still alive. I'm guessing he's talking about the veteran. But nothing ever came of their story, leaving law enforcement back at square one. Sometime in the year 2000, Alan Smith, a 51-year-old man, saw the missing persons episode on TV and recalled that he had actually seen Mitch and Bonnie. He had met them while they were hitchhiking home from Summer Jam. He claimed that Mitch and Bonnie were on their way home because they could not get near the concert, so they never actually made it there, according to him. He recalled Bonnie wearing a scarf on her head, something her sister Kagan said Bonnie often did. An orange VW bus with Pennsylvania license plates picked up the three hitchhikers, Smith told police. Smith said it was hot that day and the group stopped to cool off in the Susquehanna River, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, it's very difficult spelling, which sometimes had dangerous currents. Smith said he stood about 100 feet from the river's edge as Bonnie and Mitch entered the river. Then suddenly, Smith heard the girl scream as she tried to keep herself up in the water. Mitch jumped in to save her, but both were swept downstream around a bend. Smith believes they accidentally drowned. Once the teens were no longer in sight, the VW driver and Smith decided there was nothing they could do. There was no phone for help, so they entered the van and drove off. Interesting story. The driver was headed to Pennsylvania and claimed he would call the police from a gas station. Smith believed the driver would notify the police, so he never reported the incident. Detectives proceeded to check for reports of unidentified bodies found along the river, but found nothing. There was one further person who stepped forward, a Florida woman who said that she suspected her father had something to do with their disappearance. She also claimed that her father had done terrible things to her, along with a few other men, when she was a child, and she feared that Mitch and Bonnie may have been targeted by her father as well. The police excavated 2 properties, the family cottage in Wayne and a decommissioned New York State electric and gas power plant. The excavations were fruitless, and the father passed away in 2022, so that was also a dead end. Also says here at the bottom, the most recent detective assigned to the Sullivan County case has become a ghost, not answering calls for interviews and failing to work with the family. So we are back at square one again, as it said earlier as well. And that is why we're taking a look at this case using the tarot. We're going to start off with the Urban Tarot deck, which is already on the table. And for any further questions, moving on to the Deviant Moon, which is this one. As per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the cards. As soon as I have about a table full of them, I'm going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We're starting off with the World in reverse, and then the 5 of Swords, and then we see the Prince of Discs, the Queen of Wands, and the 4 of Swords. But let's start with these 2 first, because the universe here, it's called the universe in this deck, but it is the world. It's in reverse, so that's kind of like, at least I tend to see that as hiding from the world, having some issues with the world. And then we see the 5 of Swords, which is often like some type of verbal altercation. So maybe this feels very much like they're out on the road and they're kind of lost to the world, but they're also not in a great mood. They appear to be fighting. Maybe they're like stressed out or something. They're hitchhiking together. They've only really been together for a year, so maybe there's like certain stressors there that they hadn't had within their relationship before. So maybe this has caused for some arguments on the road. We see these other 2 cards right here, the Queen of Wands and the Prince of Discs. Now, the princes in this deck are the knights, and this kind of reminds me, I'm thinking that this is Bonnie and Mitch over here, these 2. And then we have the 4 of Swords. So we first of all have a very willful Queen of Wands here, right next to the Words card, so to speak, and a very practical Prince of Discs here, Prince of Pentacles, or Knight of Pentacles in this case. So we have a willful queen and a practical knight. They're having this disagreement over here, and now we're taking a little bit of a break here with the 4 of Swords. So maybe they've had an argument on the road, and then they're like, on the one hand, she may be giving him a willful silent treatment while he's trying to be practical. So possibly he's still trying to arrange for things, and maybe they've decided that actually they should go back home now because they're not going to be able to enjoy the concert together or something along those lines. He might be trying to make arrangements for that to happen while she is sulking possibly, or trying to willfully still go the other way. They may even have split up at some point, possibly not because they both agreed to that, but more like Initially, they just agreed to disagree here with the Four of Swords, and then she just decided, no, you know what, I'm going to go there anyway. I'm like 15, I can do what I want, and I'm just going to hitch a ride with somebody, and it's going to be fine. Well, he's possibly trying to find a payphone or something, because of course this is the 70s and you didn't have your mobile phones and all that sort of thing. So he's possibly trying to arrange things with limited capabilities. So there is already quite a lot of trouble there on the first row. Next row we see here the Magician in reverse, so we're not able to make things work. I'm thinking this is Mitch, who is unable to find things to get them back. They didn't have any money either, so they probably weren't able to just hop on a bus either and that sort of thing, or maybe even use a phone, I don't know, but he's having some trouble arranging for things. Then we have here the Knight of Wands, which is in this deck the King of Wands, and he's in reverse, so it could be that he's trying lots of things, possibly also being very willful, just almost like last-ditch efforts to try and arrange for certain things, but it's not working because the Mage is in reverse. We have here the Hanged Man, so now we are taking a bit of a break, possibly maybe trying to think of new things, trying out some new perspectives possibly on the situation. I'm not sure where Bonnie is in this part. Potentially just following along, still being willful, and maybe this is also one of the reasons why he's deciding to take a new perspective, because they are, well, I think Bonnie still wanted to go to the concert because she was out there and she enjoyed traveling and having her freedom, and he's still trying to be practical and trying to get things done, but they're encountering a lot of trouble here. So he's like, okay, fine, I'll take a step back, let me take a look at this from another perspective, let me try and figure something else out, because if we can't go it one way, possibly we'll be able to go another. Then we have the Eight of Swords. This one is called Interference, and then we have the High Priestess over here. So we are kind of trying to rely on our intuition, I believe, but there is some type of issue here with our thoughts. And it could be that because, of course, they were both teens, that they weren't quite thinking straight, like they have quite high emotions. At least one of them probably had quite high emotions. The other one's trying to be calm, so there's like a bit of a dissonance between the two. And they may have both gotten in this mindset of, okay, this is the only way we can get out of this, and we're going to focus completely on that. But possibly also trying to maybe find another way somehow still, because of the High Priestess trying to look beyond the veil, maybe trying to get somebody to get them a ride somewhere, and possibly trying to figure out like who would be the best candidate for that, or where should I go in order to get the best ride, or something along those lines. Like they've got this goal, which is maybe not the best goal that they could have set for themselves, but they're going to reach it, and they're going to try to be smart about it or intuitive about it. Like they're maybe thinking, well, it's quite a distance this way, and I know that there's a certain company down the road, and there's this truck that belongs to the company, why don't we ask them for a ride? Like something like that. They're trying to intuit some type of smart way to get through something, but not in a very smart manner. So the perhaps idealized version of we're going to hitchhike to this concert and it's going to be great fun and we're going to enjoy the music and then go back home and have great stories to tell. That illusion was broken pretty quickly. They snapped out of that pretty quick right in the first line. Then we tried to make things work, and maybe there was still some of that illusion there, like, oh, this is all just a big adventure. But then they tried to be smart about it by maybe trying some unusual tactics, perhaps just entirely focused on making that one thing happen, and possibly that didn't happen. At least it doesn't suggest that that happened. Also wondering if maybe they were also just kind of taken advantage of, because even though the Hanged Man is for taking a different perspective, what we do see with the Hanged Man is that because he's hanging upside down, there's all sorts of things falling out of his pockets. Like maybe they're being so open-minded that their mind kind of fell out, and possibly somebody took advantage of them in their vulnerable situation. This may have been somebody who misled them into thinking that they only had certain options. So maybe this Eight of Swords was caused by somebody else loss. And even though they had a certain intuition about this person, they were like, yeah, that's totally what we're gonna do, and you're definitely the right person for us right now, and we'll take a ride with you. Sure, something along those lines. Doesn't say much about riding anywhere yet, but we're not done yet, so let's take a look what happened next. Small stack, and the Ace of Wands in reverse. Alright, so we're starting off with already a negative new initiative being taken. So there is a new plan here, and I'm looking at the child as well, wondering if perhaps they had something that seemed trustworthy about them, like maybe they had a small child on them, or they had a picture of a small child, or a picture of a family, or something that made them think, oh, that's okay, this person's fine. Like, for years I always thought, like, oh, if a person has a dog, I'm pretty sure they're okay, because people who like dogs are okay in my book, because I like dogs. You know, like that type of idea that you might have about certain people, because they have certain things or certain animals about them. So maybe they saw something that made them go, yeah, I think this person's all right, but that turned out to be a bad idea, bad initiative. Let's see what we've got over here. And we have the Eight of Cups. All right, we're walking away though, so somebody is not on board with this idea. Maybe somebody else, like maybe they're splitting up at this point. One of them is like, nah, this is a bad idea, and the other person's like, hey, let's do this, sounds great. The Emperor's here though, so maybe somebody is trying to lord over them, saying that maybe this is the only option that they've got, trying to kind of bully them into whatever situation that they have in mind for the two. So I'm guessing this is another person who is doing the bullying. Page of Pentacles, all right, so we're making some reasonably questionable investments. Perhaps in an attempt to work on the situation, just looking at the gigantic wrench and also the screws that are laying by their feet. Pages are often very enthusiastic, but maybe not always on the right path. So maybe they had some idea of how to be practical, but it didn't quite pan out that way. Now, this person may have seemed like a savior, though, because we have the Six of Wands right here. So maybe they kind of came out of nowhere, or they were initially talking to somebody else that they walked away from, and then somebody new came up who seemed like the best option for them at the moment. So they may have gone with them, and they lost their temper, or at the very least didn't stop to question anything. Maybe they were just very impatient. I'm thinking maybe it was late and they were like, oh yeah, well, it's like 2 in the morning. We're not going to find anybody else to give us a ride. We can't sleep here. Hey, this person's great. Let's go with them. Like that type of temperance loss situation. So maybe they were in a location like a truck stop or something like that. I'm getting a lot of vibes of this place isn't great, but we need to get out of here. Maybe this guy's an option, and like, no, not really. And then, hey, there's somebody else, let's try them. Something like that. And also because I kept thinking about truckers earlier with the company that may have been in a similar direction to where they were headed. Maybe we can ride with them. So maybe they were like a truck stop and trying to get a ride with somebody who seemed initially to be a good idea, then turned out not to be. And then somebody else came along who seemed like a better idea. So maybe they went with that person. Let's see what else we can get. Oh, that one flipped. It is, where are you? Oh, there's 2 of them flipped. All right, let's see. We have, this is the Four of Wands, but it's in reverse. So initially they may have thought this was a good person, and then it turned out not to be. And we also have here the Ace of Pentacles also in reverse, so a bad investment made. Maybe they realized after a while that perhaps they wasted their time with this person because it didn't turn out to be quite the right person for them after all. And this bad idea, this bad investment may have turned around to bite them, because there is a dragon over here in this card. that may not have led them any closer to home either. I'm looking at this pod place, like the place that they wanted to go, the place where they have their connections over here with the vine wrapping the hands together. That's possibly where they were not headed, and maybe that's where they wanted to go. So possibly they were looking to go someplace where people were familiar. So maybe this is them trying to get back home. So maybe the other person was right about that they were on their way home. And then the other person I'm referring to, the 51-year-old, I think, who said that they saw them floating down the river when they stopped to take a dip in the water because of the heat. The story about the Volkswagen van, that seemed a little odd. But anyway, maybe they were on their way home. Doesn't necessarily mean that they were actually in that van, but at least they had possibly planned to return because they couldn't quite get to the concert. Let's see what else we can find. This one and then the other one over here, two of them. These two came first. All right, so we have the 10 of Wands. We're getting tired of this burden. And we have here the 5 of Swords again. So we have an old argument coming back up. I think this may be the argument that they had way at the start. And now it's probably gotten worse because they're also tired with this whole situation. Possibly also tired with each other. Tired of the burden that they're carrying. Possibly edging on a relationship breakup because they're kind of just like realizing possibly how incompatible they are. It doesn't say much about incompatibility, but I feel like this 5 of Swords in reverse is kind of pointing towards the argument that they had before. We're having it again, and it's something that's going to last permanently because it's in reverse. I tend to see that as something that's like gotten part of your psyche somehow. Like this is now an argument that is happening within this relationship. Like certain couples tend to argue about certain things, and I think this is one of those situations. Probably brought on because they were getting tired, and it was also quite late. We can see that with the full moon. And the world is again in reverse. So it started off in reverse and we're still in reverse. So possibly they are even further away from where they wanted to be, even more hidden from the world. So possibly they're further from home than they had initially wanted to be. And the argument was probably something along those lines anyway, like, oh my God, look at where we are now. This is totally not what we wanted, and how are we gonna fix this? And you always do this, and you always do that. Did I just cover a card with this one? I think I just did. Okay, let's move you over here. All right. There's space for one more on this row. Let's see what we can get. So, 2 of them. All right, fine. 3 of them. All right, so this one came first. Page of Wands. All right, so we are trying to make plans here to travel somewhere. It's not very successful, but attempts were made. I'll put them over here for now. You have 2 of them that landed over here. Knight of Wands in reverse and Strength in reverse. Okay, so we're losing our strength to keep our composure. Knight of Wands is somebody who is also fairly gung-ho, wants to charge off and get things done. The Wand suit in particular is very fiery and just wants to get things over with. Like, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that, that's fine. Stop complaining, we'll do this, and then it'll be over, it'll be fine. And they're just kind of losing strength, losing steam, but they're also really just trying to do anything that they can to get back to where they wanted to be. And the situation might be getting a grip on them over here because their strength is waning. I'll put them over here. All right, let's get back to the urban deck. So they're in a lot of trouble. So what happened that made them disappear? Because we haven't seen too much definitive things happening so far. So far it's been mostly arguing between the 2, running into some bad people possibly. And now they're just losing strength and willpower, it seems. because we were just getting really tired. This card is Cold Power, and it's the Four of Pentacles. So now we have nothing left to invest, and it looks kind of like chickens are coming home to roost. This is kind of like the Seven of Pentacles, and when you look at the vine, sorry, to see what's growing. And this is more like the seeds that you've planted, you've now realized that they are not good, and whatever balanced situations or balanced decisions you were hoping to make in this situation, they're not going to pan out, and you kind of already know that, you kind of feel that happening, and the power over there is just saying that they were losing their power. And now we get this card in reverse, and it's Cold Power, so I think that's also to confirm that. Oh, that one jumped, but didn't quite jump out. Oh, that was the Sun, and I tossed it on the table, but it initially flipped like this. So we do have a little bit of a little highlight somehow over here. There may have been a moment where they ran into something, or something happened that made them very happy, or maybe made them reminisce of the past. Maybe they had just a little break. Like, okay, sometimes you have to break down in order to build yourself back up again. So maybe they had a little bit of a moment of a reprieve. Maybe they had some coffee somewhere, and they just kind of sat there for a moment, I imagine, and then made up, possibly. Something like that. Like a second wind, that type of thing. Oop. Okay, there's a couple on the floor, and there's these two. These are on the floor. All right, so this card is Cold Love. It's the Two of Cups, but it's in reverse. And then we have here the Princess of Cups, which is the Page of Cups. So we have negative surprises. We're also no longer signed up for the same thought process. We're not as close to a certain person, possibly, as we were before. Something is coming to light that is possibly intolerable. So maybe the Sun card has also shown some light on something that they're like, okay, yeah, no, we really can't do this anymore, or I don't want to be with you anymore. Maybe they broke up here. That's kind of what it seems to be saying. Let me move this thing out of the way because it keeps pushing against my cards. Okay, so maybe they broke up here. Maybe they broke up amicably. Like, they're like, oh, let's just agree to be friends because apparently this isn't working out, but you know, I still kind of like you, but you know, we're not really meant to be together, so let's just continue with this. I'm just as surprised as you are over here with this Page of Cups in reverse, but you know, it's something that just happens, and they kind of move on with that. No amazing arguments yet, but who knows. Let's see what we have here. We have here the Queen of Swords in reverse, and we have the Ace of Cups in reverse. Okay, yeah, so definitely a breakup of sorts, possibly initiated by Bonnie, because we have the Queen here. But the Queen of Swords is somebody who's very matter of fact, very sharp-witted, and maybe just was able to cut through the cord with no emotions, possibly, or just kind of like made the decision like, okay, yeah, I've seen this, I've seen that, we've seen this and this and that happen, that means we're not going to be together anymore, there you go, it's over, like that, like no tears, just it's over, like that type of thing. And I think we also see that here with the Ace of Cups being in reverse, like a new chapter here. We're not going to be together anymore. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing, because it is still a very bright and pretty card here. The cup's looking pretty good, but it's just pouring out the wrong way if you wanted to maintain a relationship in the wrong way. So maybe they just decided to break up as friends. Okay. The Hierophant is here. Alright, so the Hierophant is somebody who has some type of sway over people. But it may not have been a very good Hierophant, because normally you would think, oh, this is like a religious person who is really has like the best intentions. But if you look at the little podium there, there's these black miasma-like tendrils coming up. So this may be somebody who seemed like a good person, but underneath has some dark secrets to hide. They may have encountered them I'm not entirely sure what person this is. Don't think it's either of them. So this is a new person. Okay, so no, possibly we're signing up for whomever this person is. Like maybe not like sign up as in it's a new relationship, but more like this person I think can help us. Like they see somebody whom appears trustworthy again, another person, and they're like, okay, fine, we'll go with you. It's fine. We'll twist our fates together with this candle over here, and we're putting our eggs in one basket. Because this person seemed like they should be trustworthy, and there is the 9 of Pentacles in reverse, so we're losing quite a bit here. Now, they didn't have any financial losses that they could possibly have had because they didn't have any money on them. They left without anything, so maybe there are other losses being incurred here that are resources, possibly requests being made that are not honorable, if you know what I mean. We did look at this priest person who's supposed to be all pious and everything, but then we have this whole deal here with signing up with whatever it is that they're interested in. Both of them have archway here, so that's interesting. Kind of like they're looking at this union taking place from across the little desk there. So maybe this person initially seemed like a good person and then kind of forced them to give something up that they would normally not have done. Two of Wands. Okay, so you're once again traveling, but not necessarily of their own accord. This card is called Dominion, so maybe somebody is telling them what's going to happen next, what the plans are. Maybe this person who stepped in is now telling them what's going to happen next. Like this is almost starting to sound a bit like trafficking, if you know what I mean. A lot of the times girls who end up getting trafficked like out on the road will probably be approached by somebody who seems friendly and then quickly ensnares them and whisks them away. This is kind of what that looks like. I don't really see how Mitch is fitting into this though, because maybe he just left. This may be Bonnie's part of this story. Let's see what else we can get actually. What happened to the both of them? Oh. This one fell on the floor. So I asked what happened to the both of them, and we get the 3 of Cups in reverse. And this 3 of Cups is not only just no harmony or false harmony, it's also don't look at the shark as it's trying to eat you. So that's not really a shark, but you know what I mean. So like the bad thing, don't worry about that, it's fine. And possibly they won't figure out that it's there until much later, and then it'll be too late, that type of thing. So maybe Mitch also got kind of suckered into something. This person may have initially pretended to be on both of their sides. They may have been together still at that point, and then possibly we're having a bit of a party here, and then one person gets booted out, possibly as the truth reveals itself. But we'll see what other cards we get here. In any case, there is some type of coming together that initially seem joyful as long as they don't look behind the curtain. We have a card on the floor and those on the desk. This one's on the floor. This is again this is the 9 of Pentacles again in reverse. So we're losing more of our resources here. And again, we were looking at a female figure in this card. So possibly, again, losing something that they didn't want to give initially because something that they were normally reserved for other people was being taken. Let's see, we have here the 7... Is this a 7? Yeah, the 7 of Wands. Somebody's coming for your position in a negative way, possibly, and maybe they're being challenged directly. And Page of Swords here is also quick to charge off. Possibly this is Mitch trying to argue with whomever it is that is trying to get something from them over here. But I see underneath here already the tower. So now we are looking at the end of a chapter. So this may be where Mitch gets told the truth in a fairly harsh manner. The Hermit is next, and I'm looking at this interesting location here that they are at. So this is not a Hermit card where I say, oh, he's just kind of like withdrawn from society to kind of collect his thoughts. This looks more like cold and naked in a room that you do not recognize and cannot escape. That type of Hermit card is what we're looking at over here. So then we have the Seven of Swords. We have the Seat as well. Also in a fairly precarious situation over here. They're being lied to, possibly to make sure that they do comply with whatever it is that's going on with them. Maybe they are in two different locations because the two people fell on either side of the tower there. And we only see one person over here with a poultry meal of a dead fish. And then we have lies over here. So possibly Mitch was being taken to one location. The cards are very much crooked at the moment. Taken to one location and told one thing, and Bonnie may have been taken to another location to be told another thing. Let's see what else we can get. So now we're definitely getting more dramatic answers. That one. Ace of Swords. Alright, so there's more lies. Possibly that things are going to be okay. Like, okay, initially they're already being lied to anyway, but then comes the big lie over there. Maybe they asked some questions, like Mitch may have asked some questions, Bonnie may have asked some questions, and then they're like, yeah, no, it's fine, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and it's just for this or that event, don't worry about it, it's going to be fine. Something along those lines, but turned out that was not the case, and it was a pretty big lie. It also started something new, because aces are often like initiatives, so possibly a new thing happened without them really knowing what it was, because they were told something completely different. Oh, that's a lot. How much is it exactly? Alright, I think we can take these. Probably the last cards. Let's see, we have the Ten of Cups. Alright, so we're looking at a lot of heartbreak here. Very negative emotions for quite a lot of people, actually. We're looking at a whole family here, so maybe this kind of reminds me of people who are removed from their home and they have to go travel the land, like kind of like migrating, that type of thing. Whole families being uprooted. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from this card, just feeling really, really bad about things. Very negative emotions. I'm thinking this is also a little bit connected to that. We are being hidden here with the moon in reverse, possibly skulked away to some location. This card over here is death, so possibly unable to let something go. And we have the Queen of Swords in reverse after that. I'm feeling like this is Bonnie being unable to let something go. But we have the Three of Swords here, which is three is a crowd, so possibly maybe this is where Mitch and Bonnie possibly part ways, probably against her wishes, but that's just how it happens. She's holding it back. And then we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse, feeling pretty rejected. Also, again, naked and afraid and out there alone in this case, possibly only really looked at by people with money. As you can see, there's the eye in the door over there. Maybe forced into certain things that they did not want to get involved in. I feel like these cards on the end in particular are saying she was eventually shown the truth. Initially they tried to lie to her to keep it from her while Mitch was already in a bit of a precarious situation over there, and then when the actual truth came out, There were a lot of unhappiness over here. Things were being hidden. I'm feeling like this is where they decided that they didn't have a use for Mitch, because usually when it's trafficking, it's often young females that they want. We don't need to get into the details of that too much, but I feel like whatever happened to Bonnie was the other side, where you do initially survive, but who knows what happens after that, because often they do not make it out either. It just takes longer after much more embarrassing situations. So I don't see, well, maybe for Mitch we see a bit of an end card over here, because they're lining up over here, this negative hermit and the death card. Don't see that necessarily for Bonnie, but I feel like with these cards we don't have much hope for them ever being found. Maybe we can get some cards, like, are we ever gonna find them? Let's get some final cards on that. Nope, 2 of them jumped up. 10 of Pentacles in reverse and Ace of Wands in reverse. This kind of looks like a lot of wealth maybe thrown into trying to get things started, but there just isn't a good initiative to start. So this, I think, points towards people might try to throw their money at a new investigator or a new person who says that they have something for them, and it's not going to lead to anything good. So perhaps we're only going to see more people trying to take advantage of the situation for their own gain, which is something that we unfortunately see quite a lot with these cases, where they know that there are desperate family members involved and that they're not going to say no to potentially getting back in touch with their loved ones, but it's not going to lead to anything. That's very sad. So that is what I'm seeing for Mitch and Bonnie. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a comment. That really helps the channel along. Also, if you'd like to subscribe, that is also very much appreciated. In any case, I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.